Welcome in everybody to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zack Brown. Got another good one for you today, going over all the weekend in racing and previewing with my dad and crew chief corner, big dirt racing week with Eldora, the Million, and the King's Royal happening, and the NASCAR races at New Hampshire this coming weekend. But as always, this episode is brought to you by W Energy. Go to w.gg, use promo code ZBHP, get 10% off your order. If you ever want any type of good energy shots, clean energy shots, or any hydration materials, go check them out. Again, w.gg, promo code ZBHP. Let's get on with it. Plenty of racing to go over. We're going to start off with NASCAR at Atlanta. We're going to go over the Cup Series first. It was a very exciting race, a lot more exciting than I expected. Just a slick racetrack and a decent amount of tire fall off where the drivers had to not just focus on pack racing, but they also had to deal with a mishandling car and you having to navigate through that. You saw a little bit of old Atlanta where they would take dives down out of the pack to try to make moves, but they also use a little bit of that drafting and use the pack to get past the other cars that are diving down low. And so you had to time everything just right. Back and forth racing. I mean, it was just incredible racing. Rain was on the radar, so that definitely played a huge factor into this. And I thought it was going to rain after, even before stage 2 ended, and they were just driving just insanely hard in the Cup Series, and able to hold on, for the most part, hold on to their cars and make moves happen and put on just a great event. I thought that Keselowski was going to come out with a win. I thought my pick, Chris Buescher, was going to come out with a win. Fords were just insanely fast all weekend. But with the rain coming, that plays a big part of strategy. Stage 2 comes to an end, and a lot of cars they have to pit. And you got about 40 laps into the third stage, and then that's where William Byron, right place at the right time. And he takes the lead, and the rain starts coming down after caution comes out late in the race, and that's when you know, that's when the rain's going to hit. And so William Byron gets his 4th win in a rain-shortened race. Leads the entire series with 4 wins already. I mean, just a incredible career year for him so far. Definitely championship favorite. That team's doing great and able to get strategy playing in the right hands. I know a lot of people were upset with Hendrick and how they cheat or whatever. There's obviously been some suspensions and stuff that have happened, but they're also a pretty good team and they're pretty sharp and they seem to be going the right direction. Kyle Larson has his woes once again in speedway type racing like that. Doesn't seem to matter where he's running. Some sort of misfortune's going to happen. He took a lot of blame on himself there. Got loose, went up the racetrack, and nowhere else to really go. And gets the air taken out from under him. Gets spun in front of Eric Jones, and that wasn't really what did it. It was the tire that exploded going around the racetrack. So significant damage to that car. They weren't able to get it fixed, and that called it a day. But again, congrats to William Byron in 2014 on the big win, the 2,000th win for Goodyear. And Jeff Gordon had the 1,000th win for Goodyear, and William Byron gets the 2,000th win. So pretty cool to see that. I really enjoyed Atlanta. I've had my reservations there and concerns with that style of racing, just at a 1.5-mile track. It didn't really put on a great show the last time they went, but this was very much different. The track aged another year. It was hot and slick, and I think that played a big factor into it. The teams had a year under the belts to kind of figure out what was coming, so that also helped. I definitely enjoyed it. Before I go a little more analysis in that, let me talk about the Xfinity race that was at Atlanta. A lot more caution filled. Um, Track was still very, very slick during that race. It was a long race with all the cautions that happened. And Austin Hill was rolling from the back to the front. And I was like, all right, I might be right on a pick finally. I was wrong. Austin Hill uh, gets caught up in a spin off of turn 4 and ends his night late in the race. And of course, once again, who my dad picks, John Hunter Nemechek, comes away with the checkered flag. Um, John Hunter was battling a tight car all night and just wasn't handling the right way, but they adjusted on it just enough and get him up front late, and he held on and gets that big win in Atlanta. John Hunter's having a heck of a year, and I think you'll see him in a cup ride before too long. There's some cup drivers that I think are on the chopping block. They haven't quite proven themselves and probably need to move down to a different series to get more experience. I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens in the sport. And real quick, I'll recap Mid Ohio with the Truck Series, and I'll go back to my Atlanta analysis real quick. Mid Ohio, the trucks somehow brought out so many cautions at a road course, and you don't really expect that because it's a road course. But they did, and it was very hard to watch. I tuned in after it was halfway, and it just took so long to finish that race. Corey Heim was fast all day, and he was able to hold off Zane Smith, who Zane Smith had been having great runs on road courses this year. So congrats to Corey Heim. And Zane Smith, definitely the championship favorite in the Truck Series for sure, with a bunch of consistent runs now. Going back to Atlanta real quick. Yeah, with that package and with the I like the night race. I think it's a little too late. I think they could have started it. Well, they would have started like an hour earlier. Probably would have got the whole race in. Started around 6 o'clock. Probably got the whole race in. Evening races on Sundays are difficult for fans in the stands. But I think it's better if you're not so late at like 7. The Xfinity was 8 o'clock. That's really late. 5, 6 o'clock, and you can have some sort of transition into the nighttime. That's actually pretty interesting to see how those cars do, especially in the pack racing like that. You don't get to see a lot of pack racing in the nighttime. Only once at Daytona usually, and never at Talladega. Obviously, there's no lights there. Makes you think. The big question is, what do you do with Texas Motor Speedway? And the drivers hate it. And there's always talk about reconfiguration, changing it to a short track. After seeing the success with Atlanta, they might look at just going ahead and reconfiguring it to a speedway style racing. But one thing I would suggest, though, as wide as turns 1 and 2 are, I think it would be very exciting. You have a lot more grooves if you widen out 3 and 4 and make it just insane pack racing as wide as Texas is, and it's only still a mile and a half. I think it could be a lot better racing than we have now. I don't think you should abuse the speedway style racing on mile and a half. I still think it's there's great potential for good racing. Charlotte's been putting on good racing with these new packages with this next gen car, better than some of the tracks. So I think you still got to keep that. But Texas has been on a downhill spiral for a while. I think that might be an option you can do for now. It would take some time. So race one more time, try to get it done within the next year, just like Atlanta did. Might be able to have a big event there. That's just my 2 cents of NASCAR. If you're listening, go ahead and look into that. All right, we're going to the talk about some dirt racing, and then we'll move on to Crew Chief Corner. Welcome my dad into the show. So, All Star Circuit of Champions, they raced 2 races this past weekend. Not as exciting racing as there has been. A lot of domination really comes to mind in those races. First race was at Ransomville, and it was again a battle for second place as Zeb Wise dominated the entire day. I mean, just he was gone. I think it was a 11 and a half second lead, I think they said. Something insane like that. It was absolutely incredible. He was off of turn 3 and they were just getting across the start finish line. Insane. So congrats to Zeb. Surprised there weren't more cautions and stuff. Everybody was able to navigate through lap traffic, no problem. And obviously the wrecks were non-existent. So cool, there's no wrecks. Good to see good driving, but also kind of disappointing. Didn't see a late caution, see if things were shaken up. But the All-Stars are off for points races as they all head to the Eldora Million this week for a non-points race, going for that $1 million. So that'll be interesting with all these cars that are getting mixed up. We'll preview that later on. Go ahead and go into Sharon Speedway the next day. Another dominating day. It was the Lou Blaney Memorial. Both Blaneys were running. Dave and Dale had solid finishes, both in the top 10. But it was all about Sunshine Tyler Courtney, who's continuing his dominance in the All-Star Circuit Champions this year with another impressive performance at Sharon Speedway. Moving to the World of Outlaws. They only were able to get one of the races in, unfortunately, as rain at 34 Raceway took it away. So at Wilmot on Saturday night, Carson Macedo takes the lead away from Donnie Schatz about midway through the race. He doesn't look back. Carson Macedo holds off some late charges and late race restarts against Brad Sweet to get a big win for him. First win since he had that nasty wreck at Knoxville. So congrats to Carson Macedo, and he's back into the points now. So the World of Outlaw points are shaking up. They're crazy. Brad Sweet's back in the league with 12 points over David Gravel. And we're getting into the hot summer months. I'm telling you, it is going to be, and with Macedo starting to climb back up, might see a 3-car battle for the championship this year. It is coming down to the wire, and it's getting very, very exciting. So keep looking out for that. And we got a big week coming up. So before we welcome my dad, Jeff Brown, into his segment, Crew Chief Corner, as always, Crew Chief Corner is brought to you by Lickety Lou's All-Purpose Booyah Sauce. 3 different flavors, original, spicy, and yellow. Go ahead and check them out at licketyloos.com. See what all they've got. Order it now. Get it before you know it. It's good stuff. All right. Well, let's welcome in my dad, Jeff Brown, to another week of Crew Chief Corner. All right, Dad, back at it for another week, a huge week at sprint car racing. Eldora Million coming up, and the Kings Royal. Humongous week for the dirt racing family.
Yeah, I think Tony's trying to sort of outdo Knoxville as far as having a whole week at one track with major racing. So it's it's going to be hard to unseat Knoxville, but he's giving it a good shot with this whole deal. They're going to have a ton of cars.
I think it's over 80 right now, and I'm assuming all of those 80 are going to be staying for the Kings Royal as well. You might as well. You're already there in the middle of nowhere, so you might as well go ahead and race all the races.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go, it'd be stupid just to show up for the one race. So you're going to be there Wednesday. You might as well just stay the whole way and see what happens.
It's been a fun racing between All-Stars, with All-Stars racing and then Outlaws racing, and now everybody's going to be coming together, going for $1 million, and it's not a points day for anybody, so you're going to see a lot of hard racing, I think.
Yeah, I think so. This one's sort of, all about the money. It's everybody's going to bring their best stuff, and may not be as forgiving as they would on a normal race night.
Tons of cars like this, I'm assuming it'll go up to probably a D, maybe even E main.
Yeah, it could very well be. So it'll be interesting to see how the track holds up.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was about to ask.
If they doing any kind of reworking on the track during the race, which I hope they don't. It's in the middle of the week. People got to, get up in the morning. So we'll see what happens.
Well, if anybody made the trip to Eldora for this week, they're not going to work this week. There's just no.
Well, I'm not talking about the people there. I'm talking about people, watching on Flow.
Oh yeah. Worst case on Flow, you can always watch the full replay the next day.
True.
So, and if you don't look at social media, you can just watch and be surprised. I mean, that's also a positive. Outlaws, they start off tomorrow night at Attica Speedway, and then they go right into Eldora. So they got a really busy week. And Kyle Larson, he's joining every single race this week, also including the NASCAR Cup race on Sunday. So the only day off is right now. So hopefully his day off's probably traveling up to Ohio. So, I mean, he might be getting up there with the crew here in a little bit. So, difference between Attica and Eldora is night and day, completely different clay and just the way it races and everything. And it's a points race for the Outlaws. And right now, Brad Sweet has a 12-point lead over David Gravel. It's been back and forth between them. It's been a lot of fun to see those two go at it, and slowly creeping back into the mix is Carson Macedo with that recent win. So he's back in the top 5 after missing. I think he missed a race and having that nasty wreck at Knoxville. So he's climbing up back in the top 5. He's starting to get going. So it could be a three-car battle for the championship by the end.
Yeah, the racing's been tight. It's it's probably been the best points battle the Outlaws have had in a long time. Usually somebody just
it's usually Brad
runs
Sweet
away with it.
Yeah, it's usually Brad Sweet the last 4 years. I mean,
he
just runs. They already crown a champion. Well, I think there's a mathematical way last year that somebody could have passed him in the championship. He had like a 150-point lead. But, I mean, that's not – he's going to end up winning. He just needed to finish a race.
Right.
But this year, I think getting down to Charlotte, it's going to be a lot more interesting.
Yeah, the competition's much closer this year.
It's good for the fans. It's good for the racers, too. Makes them better racers. But heading into Attica, we always make our picks, and we'll dive into Eldora in a second, but we're going to kind of go in, I guess, chronological order today. And we want to definitely dive into the big races coming up. So Attica's still a pretty big race to win. It's $15,000 for them to win. Who are you looking at for the Outlaws heading to Attica? It's probably a pretty big car count there as well.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that are going to Eldora probably going to go to Attica as well. So that's going to be a good show for Attica, for being a small track. Hope they can hold enough fans, for everybody is going to want to come to that. Even the fans going to Eldora. Heck, you must go one more day and go to Attica. But I'm going to stick with the Ohio driver for Attica. We're going to go with Sheldon Haudenschild.
I'm going with the current points leader, Brad Sweet for Attica, and to try to extend the lead, at least temporarily, until David Gravel might end up getting second. Those two are neck and neck, and it's pretty crazy how they managed to do that. But Brad Sweet for Attica is my pick. And actually, every single pick this week, I'm picking someone different. I think it's going to be a lot like Husett was with all those nights. I think you're going to see different winner each night, and it's going to be interesting.
I got one repeat.
Now Eldora, the prelim night, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to work it with just the one night prior, how that all works with like a point system to make the next race. I assume if you win that night, you're locked into the million. But other than that, I really don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really see any format on that, whether it has anything to do with it or not, or if it's just a tune-up race for the million. That could be I don't know if it works like Knoxville where you get the points build up and then for the A main. I didn't really see.
And I'm sure it's still pretty decent winning purse there. So we'll see what that ends up being. But prelim night, who are you looking at? You got a mixture of everybody coming here. So
it's tough, but you almost got to go with an outlaw driver. I think David Gravel's going to take the prelim for the Eldora Million.
I actually have that written down as well, David Gravel, for the Eldora Million prelim. He's just been very strong, and like you said, Outlaws. I think they'll have the advantage, minus a couple drivers that aren't affiliated with Outlaws or anything, like Larson, Rico, and a couple others.
Yeah.
You'll see out there. You'll see Brent Marks out there too. Macri shake it up. So it could be very interesting to see how those guys will go. But I think an Outlaw's a safe bet to go. But you never know. It's Eldora. It could be quite crazy. Now, this is the big.
A lot of those All-Star guys can, Tyler Courtney's no slouch getting around Eldora as well. So some of those guys that, still run there quite a bit they can definitely will it with the best of them.
Well, the big one, for no points, it's just for the money. It's not as prestigious as the one coming up Saturday because it's the first one. We don't know how it's going to be, but it's $1 million to win. There's so many people coming through. Again, you could choose anybody you want to. And I don't know how many laps are. I would guess it's probably a 40-lap race for $1 million.
I would think so. At Eldora, 40 laps would go by quick there.
Yeah, I would think maybe the prelims probably 30, and then 40's the main event. But shoot, if it were me, I'd put it up to 50 laps, and then make it really interesting. But
sometimes the way the power the sprint cars are making and as much fuel as they're burning is probably hard to get.
Well, they could do what Tuscarora does, and they take a break halfway.
Yeah. I'd rather see it. Personally, I'd rather see it go nonstop. To be quite honest, but
I do too. Just so they can catch up to lap traffic, because that's when it gets really
that's when it gets dicey.
Thing that does suck though, Donnie tweeted out earlier this week and posted on all social media that he and Lance and the whole crew, they're not going to be able to make it. Understandable. I get where they're coming from. And I kind of understand some behind the scenes stuff too that he's not going to talk about, but I get it. It's a lot of stuff for that small team to go out there, and if something were to happen on night one, then they just wasted the entire week.
Yeah, and it's tough. That whole crew, I think the average age of everybody that works on the car is like 60 couple years old. So it's, so if and they don't have Donnie's pretty much the only full-time guy, I think. I know they have some guys that are retired that help out on the car. It's tough. That costs a lot of money just to get there, hotel rooms for everybody, and not even counting the wear and tear in the race. And it's probably smart.
It looks good on paper to go there beginning of the season, but then when you start racing a few races and people get fatigued and just stuff happens. It's just how it is.
Yeah, realistically, we got the Outlaws coming into Pennsylvania at the end of the month. Let's try not to wear your stuff
High
out.
Limit coming to Grandview as well.
Yeah, don't wear your stuff out for what hate to say, but a pretty long shot to get the million.
You have to get kind of lucky too. If you don't have the equipment, you kind of got to get lucky to start up front.
Yeah, you got to draw just right, time trial just right, and whatever format they got is passing points. You got to pass cars, and it's
yeah. Well, enough of the kind of side note and everything. Talking about the Eldora Million, there's been documentaries about it, about interviewing all these drivers. People are like, can Kyle Larson win the other $1 million race this year after he won the All-Star race? That's an option. That's probably an easy option to go with. So who are you looking at to take the Eldora Million? I've had this picked out probably for a few months.
Well, he's won $1 million at 3 different tracks. He's going to make it 4. Kyle Larson.
I'm going with the one I've picked for a long time, and it's one of the favorites probably to win it as well. He's won tons of big races already this year. I'm going with Rico Abreu to win the million.
Okay.
He'd be a little fired up. He'd be pretty fired up about that.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a very popular fan win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of them that people are like, I don't want this guy to win. Most guys seem like generally the fans are like, these guys are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially after watching the Dirt series and everything, the fans get to see the behind the scenes stuff. So I think a lot of guys it's not like in the 90s when you kind of knew who you wanted to hate. and in the early 2000s, and we know who I know who we hated in the Outlaws and stuff, and I know
It
who
was
Pop
only
hated in the
Sammy.
Outlaws. Well, oh, I didn't want to say it.
But you know what? Sammy's actually a pretty cool guy. To be quite
Yeah, he
honest,
just gets
you had to have somebody to be the bad guy, and it was only Sammy.
All right. Well, now we get into the prestigious nights of the week. Hopefully, rain, knock on wood, is going to stay away, and we get all this racing in this entire week. You have 4 nights at Eldora. It might be tough to ask Mother Nature to stay away, but hopefully it does. But the night before, and they do a KNIGHT, like a knight in shining armor. That's kind of cool. The night before the Royal. I don't know how much this pays to win, but you've been part of plenty of King's Royals, or at least a few.
It was only a one night thing. They didn't have the night before. I think the night before was like an regular All-Star show.
Well, it's definitely. Well, we'll get into it in a second. But the night before, another preliminary night. Who are you going to go with on this?
Well, I'm using your logic on this one. I got Rico for this one.
Oh, okay. So you have him winning. I see your repeat. So you gave that away earlier. I'm going with the one you had the first prelim night at Eldora. I'm going with Sheldon Haudenschild.
Okay.
And going into the King's Royal, I don't know how the whole prelim system works with that. I don't know if that's any different than what the Million's going to be.
No, I think that's just a whole separate race because Brent Marks swept the whole weekend last year.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he does it again this year. I mean, he
very could do it.
Again, luck comes into it. But the King's Royal, how many have you been a part of?
3, 4.
Wolfgang and Donnie, I guess.
We were out there with Wolfgang. I was there for 1, 2, 3, and I can't remember if I was out there for 4 or not.
And Wolfgang, he won the first. He won the second one.
Steve Kinzer won the first one. Wolfgang won the second one, and Donnie won the third one.
And that's the one Wolfgang was leading by like 3
quarters. Yeah, like a half a lap coming up to. I believe it was Bobby Allen. We were lapping him, and like one of his bumpers or Nerf bars fell off, and he ran over it, and we had a flat tire.
Back then, could you kind of feel how like significant this event started becoming as early as it was with the crowd and the feeling of it?
Yeah, it was 50,000 was a huge payout, and I can remember, and I was just a teenager when we were doing it, and I can remember standing on top of the trailer, and back then we had red flags, and you would actually come back into the pits. So we were running the year we won it with Wolfgang the second year. I know he came back in, and we changed a couple tires and things, and it went back out, and I started getting sick in my stomach because I was like, because we had a harder tire on than everybody else. I was like, as soon as this thing starts drying off, that thing's going to really start going to the front. You could all of a sudden you could just see it just gradually getting faster and faster and faster. It was, that was quite exciting. And they don't give you a check for $50,000. We had the whole crew in the office with Earl Baldus counting out cash, and it wasn't hundreds and 20s. I mean, it was 5s, 1s, and we had a whole box. I can remember walking out it was me and Dad and Doug and his wife, and I had like 2 security guards walking to Doug's motorhome. So we had a brown box of cash. It was pretty cool.
I bet it's a little bit different now.
Yeah, probably think so.
Did they have the crown back then?
Oh yeah, the crown. Earl Baldus was all about showmanship. He had the girls in bikinis all over the cars and the whole deal. That was a cool place to be, especially when you're 15, 16 years old. Seeing the girls walking around in bikinis, they're like, hello.
Now, when the King's Royal, when they made that, was that something to rival the Knoxville Nationals that he wanted to do?
Well, it was actually a bigger payout than Knoxville, because Knoxville paid, I think, $25,000 for the longest time to win. So, Earl wanted the biggest payout, and Earl actually wanted to do a $1 million race a long time ago. He was trying to line up 10 corporate sponsors to put in $100,000 each to win.
Just wasn't able to go through, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, it was a little hard to convince them then. He didn't have TV and everything like you got now.
Oh, yeah. And you got Tony Stewart,
your brand.
And you got
But,
Tony Stewart as well to kind of pitch in for. I don't know if he pitches in or not, but he is the owner, so it makes it a little easier for people to get on board with that.
Yeah, for sure. It's Tony's the perfect guy to have that track. He shares the vision that Earl had the plays of wanting everything bigger and better and faster, and so I hope this goes over big, and I hope it's a yearly thing.
Yep, for the Million definitely, and then again, right now it's the prestige of the King's Royal, and
I wonder if they'll eventually start maybe not have both those races and have the Million for the King's Royal and maybe the 50,000 for the night before or something or whatever.
I don't know. It'll be
See, I guess we'll see how it goes this week. And
the King's Royal is $175,000 to win.
Okay, is that what it's up to now? Yeah,
it's gotten a lot more than back then. But when you look at the King's Royal, you probably got to look at people that have won there before, been there, done that. And I guess you kind of gave it away who you're picking for this. But go ahead and say your pick for the King's Royal.
David Gravel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking.
I thought you were going to say Rico.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if the crown would fit Rico. Not like trying to be mean. I'm just curious. But he's actually probably not that much shorter than like Larson and all them.
Make it fit.
I'm going with a previous winner of the King's Royal, and he's been getting it done quite a lot. Definitely probably one of the favorites to win, if not the favorite to win, Kyle Larson for the King's Royal.
Okay.
See, I got picked every single one's different. So I just got that feeling that it could be just kind of like Houston was, where one night somebody's except David Gravel, he had his worst finish was second. So, but other than that, Rico the second night ended up like last or in mid pack or something, and Larson
it could easily be that way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be definitely a fun week in dirt racing. Well, I think that's all the dirt we got this week. That was a lot to go through there already. And we're going to stick with the owner of Eldora, who is our owner driver of the SRX series. First week back, I've really enjoyed the SRX series, but now they're going back to ESPN, restarting Thursday Night Thunder.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch, usually, well, except this week. There's nothing on Thursday nights. There's really nothing on Thursday nights. So it's kind of unique. They're starting, I guess, probably the way ESPN wanted to have their contract. That's probably how it was. Tony probably didn't really have much of a choice there. But SRX has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's been good racing, and you get such a variety of drivers that Tony's like, hey, you want to come and drive one of these? They're open wheel guys, dirt guys, whoever he wants. They'll throw them in the car. So I think it's a cool series.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's the cars are supposed to be. It's supposed to be similar to the IROC series, where the cars are kind of prepared all the same. I think the drivers have a really good time with it. I know, I'm just looking at the entry list. I know Stewart, he got in last year with a couple drivers that were kind of racing a little disrespectful. I know he wants you to race hard, but not be a douchebag, so. But we got drivers for this race anyway. We got Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Newman, Tony Stewart, Haley Deegan, Brad Keselowski, Marco Andretti, Ken Schrader, Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan, Bobby Labonte, and Clint Boyer.
Yeah, pretty stacked lineup.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch, and they're going to have a hell of a time. I'm sure they're going to do an in-car audio with Clint Boyer, because that's going to be hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
They do it,
I wish they used to have like the track champion of the tracks run, and it doesn't unless that's not the whole entry list here. Because I remember it was Slinger or whatever last year, and the track champion actually won against those guys. I would like to see that. Maybe a little. We got so many Cup drivers in there now. I'd like to see a little more dirt stuff going.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty cool. They'll race a little bit on dirt, and they'll race a little bit on asphalt.
Same car, just different
cars. And they work really well on the dirt, and they do what NASCAR should. They shit on NASCAR a lot to be like, hey, this is how you actually race the same car on dirt. and that they take the windshields out and everything, make you wear tear offs and all that.
Right,
But they don't have as
that's
much.
the way you got to do it. You can have the track actually a lot wetter and not worry about caking your windshield and blocking all the radiator out. They're almost like a late model when it comes to once they get on dirt with everything open in the cockpit like that.
But the SRX brought into a bunch of things that NASCAR is starting to adapt as well. With they monitor the heart rates and stuff of the driver. They did that, I believe, before anybody. And they also, and NASCAR hasn't done it yet, and it'd be a little harder with them. But they go during the race, their green flag run, they'll talk to the driver. Hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, I'm trying to hang on right now.
And I think they have a pretty strict time limit. I think it's like, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 hours. They want to get the show in, and that's going to be great for, I like that they brought back Thursday Night Thunder. I couldn't wait for Thursday nights. Flip on ESPN. It was, back then you didn't know exactly what you were going to get. It was either, sprint cars or champ cars out in Indiana somewhere, or midgets. So it's pretty cool. I think that's going to be good. I mean, ESPN's been out of racing for a long time now.
I think hopefully this starts off maybe a deal with NASCAR or something where they get back into racing, and I think it'd be a good deal where you can access also on ESPN Plus that everybody's able to do. And I talked to, when I had Ford Martin on the show, he mentioned about possibly ESPN could be a way to do a streaming type thing for racing, and you have it on ESPN and ESPN Plus as well. So I have ESPN Plus. All you got to do is flip on Hulu, and then you got a race. That right. Just for the newer generation of fans, that'd be more convenient. And that's, I think you might see that direction with a lot of stuff with racing. And I mean, it's got to be better than trying to find where USA Network is.
Yeah.
No offense to NBC and USA, but I don't even know what channel USA is on half the time.
Right.
So it's not that easy to find. But anyways, enough of that. Anything you want to add about the cars with the SRX that you've noticed before we go into our picks?
Yeah, not so much about the cars, but the tracks that are at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. They call it a semi-banked half-mile paved oval. It's only a 9-degree turn. I wouldn't call that semi-banked. I'd call that almost flat.
Sounds like a mini New Hampshire.
Yeah. So it's, I think you're going to have to move the guys out of the way a little bit to pass them. And
Paul Tracy might do that.
Oh, yeah, Paul Tracy will do that. For sure. I think any of them. Newman's not afraid to dish it out, and any of those guys, especially since they're all in, heck, Haley Deegan's not afraid to dish it with those guys. But we've seen her do that before.
And Tony, he wants to see that. He doesn't want to see deliberate crashes on
right. Yeah, he's all for bump and run. Yeah. Don't just drive in and clean the guy out. That's he don't want, because all those cars are prepared. At the one shop there in Mooresville, so he don't. It's not like they have their own teams they're doing, so they got to repair all those cars. So that's they don't want to crash and do things like that. But it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of flipping back and forth between.
ESPN I might have to have two different screens on at the same time for the Million and that. That might have to be that. I have to be like almost a sports bar watching it and stuff.
Yeah, there we go.
But SRX, it's a stacked field, and it's hard. Those Cup guys haven't raced these things, but they're good drivers. They're champion drivers, except a couple. But they can figure it out. They know how to do it. So, who are you looking? I'm kind of going with the dark horse on mine, but who are you going with?
I don't think this guy's a dark horse. I mean, he grew up. I know they had short track racing and everything. I don't think he's forgotten how to do it for sure. Just out of the current drivers, I'm going to say he's probably the best current driver right now out of those drivers. So I'm picking Brad Keselowski.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Denny there.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Denny. I'll take Brad.
Again, it'll be interesting for sure. And I don't think you'll see too many people fall off like you did a lot of the races last year with the stack field. You had like Bill Elliott, who's very old. No offense to Bill, but I mean, sometimes it just gets a little tough to race when you're that getting up in there in age and stuff like that.
just getting prepared, just physically, just
Shoot, Bobby's still impressing me though. He did well last year.
Well, Bobby's still been racing some stuff, I think. So it's
well,
it's just hard keeping your head up in the cars. There's just so much G-force. It just takes a while to keep that going for sure.
Well, my pick in this one, again, for me, it's kind of a dark horse, but he did win the championship in SRX last year. Part of a very prestigious family, famous family. Marco Andretti is my pick.
I think fan favorite would be Clint Boyer. I would love to see Clint win because he'd
be a little fired.
He would go crazy in victory lane.
It'd be very exciting.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Clint.
Well, I think fan favorite between Clint and Tony, and probably Ryan Newman. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm glad they brought back Thursday Night Thunder. I'm looking forward to it. Heading out west for some drag racing. They're back for their West Coast Swing 3 weeks in a row. They don't usually do this, so it's definitely be interesting how these teams can handle it. I don't really know where all the teams are located. I don't think they're all in North Carolina like how NASCAR is, where they go back and forth, and it's a little harder on them.
Most of them are in Indiana.
So it's not it wouldn't as bad as I would think as North Carolina.
Well, they don't when they go, they don't come back unless they had some kind of major.
They just have everything to rebuild if they need to.
Yeah, I mean each team's got two full trailers they take to each race, so it's
Well, the top four series are racing. Each race out west, starting off in Colorado.
Vandermeer Speedway for the Mile High Nationals.
I guess just outside of Denver.
Yeah, it's interesting note. I noticed it said that the track's scheduled to close at the end of the season with the intent to move the speedway elsewhere.
I wonder if they're going to move it closer to Denver. Or...
I don't know. I guess the land must be worth a ton of money or something. But the interesting thing about that track, you're at 5,000 feet above sea level, so air is so much thinner, hard to make power. Especially on the naturally aspirated like the Pro Stock series, they're definitely down on power. The top fuels they'll spin the blowers faster, add compression, different things like that. But it's also less downforce. So those cars that are running 330, in Charlotte might be running 320 in Denver.
So expect a lot slower speeds in this one.
Yeah, which isn't. I mean,
Do you think for the motorcycles, do you think that'll affect them too much, or is that kind of probably about?
Well, it definitely just that high altitude. They just don't make the power, and they don't have any forced induction. The Pro Stock cars used to have that big scoop, so once you get halfway down, it's pushing a lot of air in there. They don't have that anymore necessarily. I think it does induct some air as they're running, but they don't have. So they are definitely going to be down on power. So you're not going to see any 200-mile-an-hour motorcycle runs up there this week. You're probably low 190 range, I'm thinking.
Yeah, so slow.
Yeah. They said like the NHRA has bracket classes where you have to dial in a certain amount, and I think they change it to like 0.6 of a second slower for the the Sportsman series. So if you had, I don't remember what the brackets are, but if you had like a 10-second bracket, it might be 1060.
Yeah. Well, we'll start off with the lower tier of the top four ones, the motorcycles. Kind of a big upset on the last one. Who are you going with in Pro Stock motorcycles?
He's not going to do it again. Gage Herrera.
Same. I picked him too. Well, last time we both picked him, though, he got smoked. So we'll see.
Yeah, he definitely did.
I don't think you'll see it 2 times in a row, though.
Yeah, he was way slow, so he must have had some kind of malfunction going down the tracks. I mean, he lost like a half a second all of a sudden.
Going into the Pro Stocks, who are you looking for in this one?
Yeah, this one's been tough. I mean, there's been a lot of good runners, and this guy's been kind of creeping up on, gradually working his way. So I'm going to give him a shot this week up in the thin air. Aaron Stanfield.
I'm going with a guy that he's been in plenty of finals, and I think he's got a couple wins this year. At least one win. Dallas Glenn is my pick for the Pro Stock. Going into funny cars. Who you got?
Jimmy Prock's one of my favorite tuners. You're going to be on the ball up there. driver, crew chief, and I don't think it's a better team than Robert Height's team right now as far as the whole package. I know he hasn't won like he has, but this is going to be the tough track to get down.
Is that who's the owner of Rubber Height? Is that
John Force?
Is that John? Okay, I thought I thought it was still John. Yeah, it's a good pick. I'm going with one of Tony Stewart's teams. Apparently, a Tony Stewart themed type of show today with everything going on. I'm going with Matt Hagan.
Good pick.
And Top Fuel. Who you got?
Yeah. This guy's a 4-time champ. He's been a little quiet. I'm waiting for him to start breaking out. He's been getting faster. Steve Torrance.
I'm sticking with the theme of Tony Stewart, and I'm going with back-to-back wins for her, Leah Pruitt.
That'd be cool. That'd be very popular.
Yeah, between her and Matt Hagan, and then with SRX going on this week and the Eldora Million, Tony would have a good week.
Yeah, Tony's going to be busy.
Well, he's probably gonna have somebody he's probably gonna ask for somebody to talk to him in his ear about the Eldora Million on Thursday while he's racing. Yeah, he's gonna be dying to know what's going on.
He might have his phone with a broadcasting it on flow as he's driving.
You just have to set up on the top of the car, right on the dash and stuff. Yeah,
that'd be sweet. That'd be funny as hell.
Moving into IndyCar, they're back on another road course. I mean, IndyCar, they're designed for road courses and everything. Yeah. And after this, I believe that's when they go into Iowa, and that'll be exciting. But they're going to Toronto this week.
The Honda Indy Toronto race, they call it. Tight 11-turn, 1.786 mile street circuit.
Oh, they'll get around there pretty quick then.
Yeah, but it's very narrow. It's difficult to pass cleanly.
Yeah, a lot of their street races seem to be.
Yeah. So a lot of times, two might come in, one might come out. So that could be one of those attrition races. And pit strategy could be the key to get this one. Get out. And it's going to be easier to pass them in the pits than probably on the track.
Well, that and also good qualifying effort. That's going to come down to that and where you start. If you start up front, you probably got a really good shot. If you screw up qualifying, you might screw up your whole weekend here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be passing is going to be a premium.
Well, the winner of the last four of the last 5 races is Alex Palou. He's probably the favorite going into this.
I would think he's the favorite. I didn't pick him, but I think.
Yeah, who are you going to go with on this one then?
Joseph Newgarden.
I'm not going with Alex Palou or Joseph Newgarden. This guy got the I don't know if it's a hard charger award, but he passed the most cars on the last road course that they just had in Mid Ohio. Started in the back, made his way up to top 10 finish. I'm going Pato Award.
Okay.
And all right, we're finishing up with the big ones, where I actually did decent in my pick. He didn't completely destroy his car and stuff, so yay on this past one. So, and of course, in Xfinity though, yeah, mine ended the fastest car all day and ends up getting spun, and then your guy wins, so that's cool. To go in New Hampshire this week, and I think it's like I was saying earlier, it might be a little bit like a bigger version of where SRX is going this week.
Yeah, it's 1.058 flat track, so it's
very flat,
hard to pass. Inside grooves the key. I think anybody gets stuck on the outside, it's going to look a lot like Martinsville, where they're just going to gradually just keep moving back so they can get their way into the bottom.
I would guess they have a layer or 2 of PJ1 laid down to make it more.
They haven't really talked about that so much at the track. There for a while, I don't know, last year, the year before, they seemed like they ran that stuff everywhere. Now they really haven't mentioned it. I think it made the racing a lot better on some of those tracks. It gave them a little bit of grip on the outside.
If there's anywhere to run it, it's this place.
Yeah,
because there's not that many. There's not really any lanes to run. So it'll be interesting if NASCAR decides to put that on the track, and we'll see how I
think it's going to be a boring race, to be quite honest.
New Hampshire usually is.
Yeah.
It's just the
Xfinity
fact
is probably a better race because
there's going to be more caution
enough.
Yeah. Xfinity pick. I'm going with someone completely different. Just try something new because it doesn't seem to matter who I pick anymore. So who are you picking? That's probably going to beat my pick.
Justin Allgaier.
I'm going with Sammy Smith in the Toyota Joe Gibbs 18.
Yeah, he's been running good.
Young kid,
Yeah.
aggressive. Came up with, I think he came up through ARCA where they race a bunch of short tracks anyways. They race at New Hampshire. So he's used to racing those type of tracks, and we'll see how he can handle it. So good luck, Sammy. Sorry. And the Cup, I'm slowly getting better with the Cup Series and picking people better and better, knock on wood. Kind of seeing how that goes. Cup Series had a really good race in Atlanta.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you'll have a better race here. It might be better than the years past because you have the sequential shifting pattern where if your car messes up in the corner, you can just downshift and take off and get a better exit. So that might help out a little bit to make it a little bit racier at New Hampshire.
Yeah, these cars with the bigger tires and the brake package can help a little bit. You might be able to almost like road course and try to drive it in there, out brake them and keep them pinched down real tight, and then maybe you can make passes on the outside. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, this is a track I didn't really. I'm surprised they just would just not go there anymore. But they also take away.
It's a big market up there. It's the
I guess
what they say about it.
I guess
the largest sports and entertainment facility in all of New England.
Probably nothing more than the Patriots.
Well, it says the largest sport. I mean, I guess they do other stuff besides the racetrack. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure it holds more people than the Patriots.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, the Cup Series, it's getting closer and closer to getting down to the wire. I think there's 8 races left until the cutoff. And the playoffs are crazy right now. Michael McDowell's actually in the playoffs as of right now. He's 2 points ahead, and it's just starting to get wild right now. And you might see a lot of.
He's been running very good. Good for him. I'd like to see him get in there, but me and your mom got the same pick this week. Joey Logano, hometown guy.
All 3 of us have it.
Okay.
That's where Joey's first win came when it was a rain shortened race, racing for when he replaced Tony Stewart and when he was 18 years old, and he's won there a couple times now. Yep, I'm going with Joey as well. So, no matter what happens, we're in it together. So it comes down to basically.
Sorry, Joey. All 3 of you picked you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you did, and because I'm the bad luck, really. Well, well, I don't know where Chase ended up, but I don't think he wrecked.
He wasn't. Yeah, he was sucking.
Yeah, and he had to be at the right place, the right time in Atlanta. But I think everywhere else except Gage Herrera, we have different picks, so it'll be a very interesting week.
I'll have to save my notes for this one because I'm not going to remember who I picked.
I'll definitely have mine saved. But all we got to know is that tomorrow's Attica, and I've got Brad Sweet, so that's my pick. And who did you pick again? I already forgot.
Sheldon.
Okay, so it'll be that's where everything starts, and I think it'll be interesting week in dirt racing.
Definitely will be. It's we got this week, and then the next big week's going to be for the Knoxville Nationals. That's going to be that's some big time sprint car racing. They're definitely doing whatever they can to get more promote. They're trying to push that into the same realm as NASCAR.
I think with Larson coming into the picture with the high limit series, I think it kind of put a reset on all the promoters of the Outlaws, and even All Stars been like, oh shoot, we should probably start doing something, or we're going to lose some drivers.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely stepped up, and it seems to be working so far. So. Definitely be a lot of fun racing this week. So if you guys enjoyed this, go ahead, subscribe on the channel. The channel has now been rebranded. It's on now. You can find this under the podcast section of the ZB Media Productions, as I'm working on a football podcast coming out here in a couple weeks, and more podcasts to come as well that I probably won't be hosting all of them. I'll be finding ideas. So if you got ideas of it, put it in the comments. See what you want to talk about. I don't really want to have anything about politics. I want to talk about fun stuff because I don't feel like getting in arguments every dang week. Sports are a way to get away from it. But if you want to talk about anything else, put it in the comments. Got any questions? Put it in there as well. We'll get to it next week. Go ahead and follow all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. Dad, till next week. We'll see how our picks do. We'll see you then.
All right. Bye, everybody.